Community is so important, right? As an entrepreneur, as a woman, in my own friend group, I call it girlfriend medicine. Sometimes when you talk to your girlfriends, is this happening for you? Or have you had this yet? Or you have the older, wiser, elder friend who's telling you exactly what's coming down the road for you. And so then there's also in business too. So if you don't have a community of people that are in the same industry, you can go out and create one. And so when I was in the alcohol industry, I was a founding member of a group called the Women's Cocktail Collective, and we are a group now of 35 female founders of spirit brands. So no husband-wife teams. This is just women going at it alone, building a spirit
Lovely.
brand. And our brands were always helpful to each other. We would create recipes that used each other's brands. We were very collaborative, not competitive. If we were doing any kind of trade show events, we'd pool our money and get a big room where our dollars went farther that way.
Welcome back to the Menopause Disruptor podcast. It goes without saying, you know I am thrilled to have you back to another exciting episode. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Happy to have you join our listeners that span across the globe. And that, my friends, is pretty freaking awesome and humbling. This episode comes nicely on the heels of last week's show, in which we discussed careerism and surrendering to the resistance that holds women back from stepping into their true passion and reaching great success, be it in personal life or in business. And menopause being one of those life challenges that can be so hard to surrender to because of the harsh reality of its impact. But for one woman, she turned it on its head and rewrote the playlist on perimenopause and entrepreneurship. Today, I welcome Carin Luna-Ostaseski, the visionary behind Hot or Just Me, an online platform dedicated to perimenopause and menopause, a business created because of her own experiences with hot flashes, brain fog, anxiety, and insomnia. Before menopause, Carin made history as the first American woman and first Hispanic individual to launch a Scotch whiskey brand with her award-winning Sia Scotch whiskey. As well, she founded the Entrepreneurial Spirit Fund by Sia Scotch, providing over $350,000 in grants to underserved entrepreneurs. She shifted out of spirits and into wellness with Hot or Just Me, with the aim to become the go-to online repository of feminine products and resources for addressing key menopause symptoms, from items for our body, the bed, and the bedroom, to books and educational blog articles on menopause health and wellness. What sets this platform apart? All resources are created and designed, owned, or operated by women and for women, including Carin's own company as well. Her motto is collaboration over competition, and creating community is the essence of having spirit and entrepreneurship. She is undoubtedly a trailblazer dedicated to transforming how women experience this life stage. Not only is she shifting the landscape, Carin is breaking the stigma attached to menopause by providing educational tools and resources that empower us rather than belittle us. And she is doing it with the mission to help other budding entrepreneurs have their place in the market as well. And you could be one of them. So stick around and find out the why and how behind the Hot or Just Me community. Welcome. Thank you for joining me on the Menopause Disruptor podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I really want to know the inspiration behind this business. What led you to create a business model for everything under the sun, menopause and perimenopause, from the bedroom, the bed, the body, books, educational material, everything? You cover it all.
Yeah, all of it. So I think in entrepreneurial terms, it's scratching your own itch. So for me, I'm 47 years old, and my hot flashes started when I was in my early 40s. And it was a simple question that I asked myself, and pretty much everyone around me was, hey, is it hot or is it just me? And it led me to realize first that it was mostly just me, and also that I was well into perimenopause. I had other symptoms like brain fog, anxiety, night sweats, hair loss, all kinds of stuff. And my first doctors weren't so helpful until I finally found the right doctor for me and started having conversations around HRT and when to start that. And along the way, I found some really amazing products and services that were a huge help to me. So I thought, what better way to make a difference than to help other women through this process as well and let them know that we're not alone.
Wow. Creating a business and entrepreneurship is not new to you. You have quite a history and an award-winning one as well, being an entrepreneur. So tell us all about how you went from whiskey to
Yeah,
menopause.
it's funny too. So this menopause chapter is actually my third act in life. I spent my first 17 years professionally as a graphic designer and creative director. And after a couple, almost decades doing that, I was just sick of staring at a computer screen all day, designing things so that other people could stare at their screens or their phones all day long. And I had this moment where I realized that's not what I want my legacy to be. I was also going through a divorce at the time, so the way that the end of a relationship can make you question your identity and just rethink everything. I had this burn the ships moment, and I thought, I'm so sick of my job, and I really want to
Mm.
create something that connects people in real life. And around that time, maybe not so coincidentally, I was drinking a little bit more whiskey than usual and spending these moments with friends, really having these deep conversations over a glass of whiskey because it's not a shot or a party drink. It's like a take your time kind of drink. And I thought, well, Scotch has this misinterpretation of being this old, stodgy man's drink, and it's really beautiful and complex. I thought, what if I can change the way that people think about this? And so I set out to create a new brand of Scotch that could invite a whole new generation of people to the category, more diversity, more women into the category. And so I created Sia. And that was in 2012. I did it on a Kickstarter campaign. So that made the first time anyone had ever crowdfunded a spirit. And it also made me the first woman in history to ever create a brand of Scotch, and grew that brand for many years. As you said, won numerous awards and eventually was acquired by the largest spirits conglomerate in the world. So it was an amazing journey, and one of fear and rejection and self-discovery. So it was a beautiful journey.
Oh, wow. Congratulations to you
Thank you.
for
Thank you so
achieving
much.
that.
It's funny, my relationship with alcohol has changed now in perimenopause. I used to be someone that could handle drinking at night, and now I've become someone who just needs to be a day drinker.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, I get insomnia. So it's just interesting, kind of backpedaling a little bit in life.
Well, and we're going to unpack that. I do want to
Yeah.
get into that. There's one thing you said that really struck a chord, beautiful and complex,
Mhm.
the whiskey itself. Yet there is a parallelism with women. We're so beautiful and complex. And yet our menopause is so individualized, a personal experience to each and every one of us, and yet a universal phenomenon that went for a long time in this wellness gap. And now you are filling that gap. So let's talk about a little bit about why you felt that there was more that could be done in the menopause space
Yeah.
and to help women to tap into wellness resources, but also to invite a sense of ownership on their menopause journey.
Yeah. So I think a big one, as you said, because our journeys are so individual, it's almost like birth stories, right? That everyone, when their journey to become a mom is so different. And our journeys through perimenopause are as unique as our puberty journeys might have been as well, right? Where we have some similarities, there are some common symptoms, but for the most part, it happens to us at different stages, different ages, different severities. Some symptoms hit us all at once. Some of us get through it with not too many. So it's all just so individual. But one thing that I have heard as a common thread is that the doctors in the United States only get 3 hours of training on menopause during their residency. And so, unless a doctor has gone through additional training to become certified as menopause, yeah, expert, if you will, right? I've gone through extra levels of training. So I send people to menopause.org to look for someone who has gone through this training as a great resource, or otherwise seek telehealth options that are mostly covered by insurance these days. But I think what happens is a lot of women will go to their primary care physician or even their OBGYN and say, hey, like what happened to me, right? Like I'm having some trouble sleeping, or I'm feeling a little bit more anxious than usual. And rightfully they don't understand it, so they're prescribing some Xanax or some like antidepressants, and you'll walk away trusting your doctor. But really, what we're not aware of is that they don't know that you might be in perimenopause and what all of these very common symptoms are for perimenopause. We need to educate ourselves and If we're not ready for discussions on hormones, like what else can we do between diet, exercise, any kind of cognitive behavioral therapy, might be supplements, and just really education to understand that this is what's happening to our bodies at this stage in life.
Absolutely. And so with your products and your business, Hot or Just Me, tell our listeners some of the options of both products and educational material that is available to help them on their individualized journey.
Oh, thank you. We have almost, I think, about 70 articles written now through everything from symptoms of perimenopause and versus other conditions. We have articles about HRT, the benefits, risks, alternatives, articles about bone loss, acupuncture, diet, and then we go into categories of hot flashes and night sweats. We've got vaginal dryness and low libido. There's insomnia and fatigue, hair and skin changes, and more. And then products in those categories as well. So everything from cooling bracelets and cooling blankets, like the necklaces and bracelets that I'm wearing today. There are tank tops that have anti-wick fabric technology. We have vaginal moisturizers. There are cooling eye masks, and there's a plethora of hair and skin products as well. So just a wonderful collection of products. And we also have a curated bookshop and gift shop as well. Eventually, we'll be opening to other categories like irregular periods, brain fog, anxiety, urinary incontinence. And right now, we also have these really cool bundle sets grouped by need. So we might have a stay cool and calm. There was a Welcome to the Club, which is my favorite, it has a few books and a gift card. There is sleep essentials and chill out, groups like that. Quite a few options for women that maybe don't know where to begin or know exactly what they need as well.
Well, speaking about how did you know where to begin? You have this vision, you were experiencing menopause, knew that the gap needed to be filled. It wasn't
Yeah.
there. Being the entrepreneurial spirit that you are, said, and your tenacity, having faced the challenges in the whiskey industry, your tenacity to persevere. But how did you decide and map out, okay, this is what I'm going through. These are the solutions I like to see.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then creating the business and
Yeah.
all of the offerings that you have.
So I started out with just a lot of research, right? What are the
Okay.
most common symptoms for perimenopause and menopause? So the top 10 would be irregular periods, hot flashes, night sweats, insomnia, vaginal dryness, low libido, anxiety, mood changes, joint and muscle aches, low libido, brain fog, and weight gain. And so then I said, okay, what are like some products that would be helpful here? And so, like when I tell you for, say, hot flashes, and I say, oh, well, maybe a cooling neck fan, I went out and I bought 40 different neck fans out there, and I tried them
Wow.
all to the point of their battery ran out for real, and said, okay, well, this one has the longest battery life. This one doesn't get your hair stuck in it. This one's not noisy. This one's lightweight. So just like what are the qualities that make it the best? So when I tell you that the products have been very well vetted and curated, it's not like I just picked one. It's like, oh, okay, like they have been tested, tried and true to have the guesswork done for you. And then in the same vein of being a female entrepreneur and knowing how difficult that journey is, I want to support other female founders as well. So most of the products on our site are owned or operated by women. And then we also have social causes that align with our products, right? Period.org is one that we've chosen in terms of supplying menstrual products to young women who are in need. And then I'm looking right now for an organization to align with around menopause in the workplace. So, what are some organizations that help either certify or support businesses in supporting women as we age in the workplace? So, everything from temperature regulated environments to mental health breaks or education, insurance supplements, or it might even be something like if it's a uniform job, like what are we wearing? Is it breathable fabrics? Is it layered? Is it optional? Right? Just making sure that we surround our women through our entire journey, right? So young to old.
Carin, this is fantastic. And this is really opening up a whole other area of discussion that I wasn't quite sure we would end up going down there, but you've nailed it. Menopause in the workplace.
Mhm.
Now, my work as a menopause doula and an educator is focused on bringing education to make the workplace more menopause friendly, menopause aware, to break the stigma and make it more comfortable and a confident discussion between managers and those affected by menopause at work. Because we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. We talk about mental health in the workplace. We even talk about physical and mental disabilities in the workplace, to the point where now it's, of course, we are accessible. Of course, we are mental health aware. But the menopause continues to fall through the gap. And now you've identified some possibilities of areas where we can improve the workplace, looking for business perhaps to support. I really feel it's important to start with the education piece. And how do you envision then being able to bring the education into the workplace first and foremost? Because as you said, you had to do your research first. You had to get educated first on what needed to be done to provide product or a business to support perimenopause and menopause. So if we start there with the education piece, how do you envision that we could improve the workforce for women?
Yeah, I think to your point about it's so obvious, right? Maternity leaves, paternity leaves, there's rooms for nursing, but where can the same room be utilized for women experiencing hot flashes or just needing a moment to deal with anxiety or some brain fog, concentration issues? Is it something that is you can order for your environment? And like we talk a lot about ergonomics support and our posture, and is our monitor the right height, but is the temperature regulated for us? And these are big challenges, right? Is there a fan room that I can just pick up some supplies from the supply closet and have a fan in my room or at my desk? Is it something that I can wear on my person, right, as I go about my day if I'm someone who drives for a living or was working in some kind of a factory or something where, the materials of the clothing really affect our temperature as well. So just being advocates for this. And sometimes women are fearful to speak up, especially when it comes to age, because there might be some stigma around ageism in the workplace. I see this a lot being in the Bay Area around technology, as people favor someone who might be young, but they don't realize the experience and understanding that comes from someone that has that wisdom and expertise of having been in the industry and seen change and navigated that change for so long. So I think, yeah, just being aware, having conversations with your manager. I read this wonderful book that I'm sure everyone is aware of by now, but it's called The New Menopause by Dr. Haver. But she has how to talk to your doctor about it. And in the same vein, maybe there's a discussion of how to talk to your manager about it or how to talk to your HR professional and how to bring up these discussions. So, yeah, I think it's just having the conversation, maybe leading groups around business resource groups or employee resource groups that exist in larger companies around women in the workplace topics. And I think it also needs to start from maybe a government level as well.
Glad you said that, but it's as though we have, on the one hand, government is speaking this language and enforcing it, endorsing it, but then it takes the effort of those organizations, the employees, or maybe union groups, union leaders, to actually step in and say, okay, well, our government is talking about it, but then take that overall intention and turn it into policy or turn it into a framework that supports employees. And then why do we do that? And I love what you said. Women have so much wisdom, certainly as they're climbing through the corporate ladder or have longevity in the organization. The corporate knowledge that's acquired, it would be such a shame to
Yeah.
let that go because you lose so much. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. So we need to build the awareness just to invest what one of the most important return on investments, ROI, is our employees for sure.
And women are natural community builders, and we naturally have this instinct to help support other women rise through the ranks. I have this one boss she was just amazing. And I remember as like an executive vice president at the business, she always had an assistant or some kind of an admin. And she would exclusively hire women for the role and tell them, hey, within a year, I want you to find another position in this company and I'm going to groom you for it. And have you apply for it and move you through so that you can start elevating your career because I don't want you to be my assistant forever. And if you're still here as my assistant in a year, I will fire you. So it was really beautiful to see that she was personally vested in building the careers of so many women through her career. And I think that women have this tendency naturally to do that.
Yes. Well, you yourself are a true trailblazer dedicated to allowing or helping women rise up with your entrepreneurial spirit fund at
Yeah.
SIA Scotch. You provided 350,000 in grants to underserved entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So I'm so proud of this. It was something I realized as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as a minority, it was so hard to fundraise and create any kind of capital for my business. And so I bootstrapped it, worked a second job, a third job, eventually took on some investment. I did a crowdfunding campaign and it was really challenging when it came to fundraising. But from day one, I knew that I wanted to give back in some way. And I think it's really important as an entrepreneur to always have a North Star. Like, why do you do this business and who do you want to help with it? And so the first year, I think I tallied up my sales, and all I could afford was to give $100 to a local charity that supported women entrepreneurship initiatives. And then the second year was $200. And then as the business grew, I was really fortunate to build a grant program. And to date, we've given $350,000 away in the form of grants. So no strings attached, just $10,000 to each entrepreneur who's a woman, a minority, person from an underrepresented group like LGBTQIA plus community to help them start and run their own businesses and very much around small businesses. I think there's a lot of attention to VC type businesses, but I think the backbones of our society are these businesses that support our local communities and have that tendency to hire people that look like them and help them get a leg up as well. So it was really important to me and continues to grow.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Erin. That is absolutely wonderful that you have that vision to give back and it's core to you, to your purpose, fundamental value that you continue to hold
It's
on
been
to.
really sweet too
Yeah.
watching the groups like I mentor them as well. It comes with 6 months of personal mentorship. And so watching the entrepreneurs start to get to know each other and then they start to build collaborations or social media initiatives together that I see, or sometimes they even meet in person and they'll send me some photos. And it's just really been beautiful to see almost my little kids grow up and go off to college.
That's wonderful. The reason why I wanted to really touch on that is because my listeners very much are entrepreneurial women as well, and they may just find a lot of interest in this in terms of understanding how they can build a business, perhaps, or like me, shift from the workplace and then decide, you know what, I'm birthing a new purpose coming out of menopause. I'm not doing corporate anymore. I have a
Yeah.
vision to do this, and but it's
It can be
difficult.
it can be
It,
so scary, especially if you've done it for a long time and your identity is wrapped up in it. So for me, it was 17 years of this is who I am. My name is Carin and I'm a graphic designer and yada yada. And my community, my network, my salary, like all of this was tied into this job. And so to take that leap and say I'm going to start a business is really scary. But once you do it, you can't look back. It's
yeah, that's so
amazing.
true, Karin. Thank you for reminding us that we do tend to get our identity stuck in one spot, but it's when we let that go, we really can tap into something more beautiful, as I say. And
Yeah.
again, Ayurvedic philosophies say this so much in my podcast, but we are at the age of wisdom,
Yeah, and
stepping
because with
into our wisdom.
menopause, we have this natural change that's happening in our bodies. So it's almost cyclical that we can time something new to it. It's a beautiful time of life.
It really is. I'd like to get back to the products, though, that help
Sure.
us through this
Yeah.
transition. So let's talk about some of the bundles and the
Mhm,
individual products, and we'll certainly share in the show notes your link to your website,
mhm.
Hot or Just Me. But I'd really like to understand some of the products that you found to be most effective in response to those top 10
Yeah,
menopausal symptoms, popular
sure.
symptoms.
So I think for hot flashes and night sweats, a big one, about having a good night's sleep is so important, right? So it's what are you putting into your body? What are you surrounding your body with? If you do wake up in the middle of the night, how do you get back to sleep? So we also have tips for a lot of this in terms of caffeine, alcohol, diet, magnesium, exercise, things like that. And then in terms of the products for, say, hot flashes and night sweats, we have a collection of cooling blankets, temperature regulating pillowcases, cooling sheets that are just fantastic. We have some cooling eye masks that are really great because they come straight out of the freezer and they don't hurt your skin. As I mentioned earlier, the neck fans, we have portable fans. Sleepwear has different fabrics, different styles. There is some makeup setting spray in case you might get the sweats during the day. And that's just for one category, right? In vaginal dryness and low libido, this is actually our most popular section. Moisturizers and lubricants, and then vibrators as well in different styles. And then for insomnia and fatigue, we've got eye masks. We have this wonderful Nod Pod weighted eye mask. So if you're a side sleeper, it doesn't like shift or move. And then same thing for hair and skin changes. And then the bundles, which you talked about, were really fun. We've got a Spice Things Up one that has some of the more vaginal dryness and low libido categories. We've got quite a few in the sleep essentials, some for hair and makeup or hair and skin, and then hot flashes. So we have a couple different ones that they pair either jewelry or the wearables with some of the tank tops and jewelry.
Beautiful. And what kind of
Yeah,
feedback have you received
it's
from the users?
oh, it's been so fun to see people say, "Oh, I love this product," or "It's been really helpful," or "Thank you." I also love getting suggestions. So that's
Oh,
part of my favorite is when women tell me like, "Hey, you should have this product on the site," because I don't know everything that's out there. And so it's really nice getting some suggestions. Eventually, I think this year, in the next couple months, I'll be opening up some new categories, being able to have a collection of at least 12 products before I open up a section. So that's coming up.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
And so we've seen a lot of menopause, perimenopause talk is on the rise, and we do have, thanks to the trailblazers, you mentioned one, Dr. Mary Claire Haver, and several others that are really tapping into the latest research and sharing the latest science on the
Mhm.
woman's anatomy and hormonal health. And this has opened up a huge opportunity as well as business opportunities such as your business. And now we're seeing so many on the rise. There's a lot
Mhm.
of, as we've heard it, washing, because menopause conversation is so very common now. So, with your company, though, what sets your company apart from a lot of the other menopause related products or companies that are
Yeah,
on the
I
market?
think I think mine is almost more of a marketplace, so it's not just this one product. So grouping everything and specifically by symptom. So I also try to stay away from any kind of supplements that claim to be a one size fits all solution. I just don't believe that,
Mhm.
that there is some magic pill out there that if we all took it, we'd feel fine. And then a mix of articles as well as products. I'm also looking to expand and build out a services directory. So not just doctors, but also maybe acupuncturists, maybe it's hair and skin providers, maybe it's therapists. So just a collection of people support as well to surround yourself and build out your team as you go through this process. Fitness coaches, nutritionists,
Yeah,
everybody.
menopause
So
doula, menopause
exactly.
educators,
Yeah.
podcast.
Definitely kind of rounding it all out. And then obviously women made and operated. I think there have been some supplements that are started by men, and it just that kind of makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I think the fact that you are really supporting and endorsing women-made products, businesses, and the entrepreneurs behind it so that they can get an opportunity, a chance in business to elevate and showcase their worth is in itself a real statement about your company.
Yeah.
And
And even if you have to think about it that way as a business. So if my business is for women, it needs to be women owned, operated, and all the parts of it, right? Who are the people that are helping me with my advertising or my social media, or who are my shipper and receiving companies? Are they all women owned and operated? So to just really walk the talk.
I love that. Now you're wearing a beautiful necklace, a gorgeous necklace of stones. Tell us what the product is made
Thank you.
of.
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned it,
So
and
it's
matching
actually, yeah,
bracelet.
it's a set. It also comes in a variety of colors. I have a sand color that I love as well, just depending on what I'm wearing, but they're freezable. They come in this really cool pouch that you put in the freezer, and it's almost the same as like an ice pack, right? So it cools down and you wear it around your neck or your pulse points, right? And so it helps to keep you kind of chilled out. The bracelet's fun too because you could wear it if you're gardening or, I don't know, playing tennis or golf if that's your thing, but definitely to wear it outside as well. So it's really versatile and lightweight, and I think it's stylish, and it wouldn't even cross my mind to think, oh, this is something for hot flashes. So it's really
Right,
beautiful.
yeah. Yeah, it's attractive, very appealing.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and it's from a company called Hot Girl Pearls.
Hot girl pearls. I was going to say some of the
Yeah.
listeners saying, okay, where do we find these products? But more
Yeah, and
so,
actually, it's good to tell your listeners now that we do have a discount code for your listeners, 10% off using Menopause Disruptor.
oh, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
Ah, we'll get that in the show notes too. Wonderful. Beautiful. We'll use that. I'll reiterate that time and again. But in the similar vein, perhaps there's an entrepreneur out there listening to this podcast, and she is saying, she or they, because we have to note the fact that not all identify by the pronouns she and her, and to support our LGBTQ community. So, an entrepreneur out there who has a product and would really like to have it promoted in your marketplace website. Is that possible? Can they reach out and
Absolutely.
say,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
We have a
okay.
contact form at Hot or Just Me. It's contact us. And yeah, reach out and share any products that either you've used or recommended or one that we should be offering.
Oh, that is lovely.
That's my favorite part. After I chat with any vendor, I always ask them, well, are there any products that you would recommend to have on this site? And I almost leave every call with 3 recommendations and referrals to other brands or products that would be great fits as well. So I think it's
Oh,
just,
that is.
yeah, it's always good to make the ask, right?
Oh, and that speaks to your mission about also creating community.
hmm
And I wanted to speak to that as well because you had mentioned earlier on with the bundles and also these communities based on symptoms. So speak to our listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think community is so important, right? As an entrepreneur, as a woman, in my own friend group, I call it girlfriend medicine. Sometimes when you talk to your girlfriends and is this happening for you? Or have you had this yet? Or you have the older, wiser, elder friend who's telling you exactly what's coming down the road for you. And so then there's also in business too. So if you don't have a community of people that are in the same industry, you can go and create one. And so when I was in the alcohol industry, I was a founding member of a group called the Women's Cocktail Collective, and we are a group now of 35 female founders of spirit brands. So no husband and wife teams. This is just women going at it alone, building a spirit
Lovely.
brand. And our brands were always helpful to each other. We would create recipes that used each other's brands. We were very collaborative, not competitive. If we were doing any kind of trade show events, we'd pool our money and get a big room where our dollars went farther that way. And same now, it was almost within a week or two of starting the business, I stumbled upon a group called the Menopause Brain Trust. And it's a group of, I think now 100 brands and marketplaces and service providers and doctors and authors and podcasters and a group of women who are all around the topic of menopause. So it's a monthly meeting, and you can just introduce yourself and share what's going on. One of the topics I'm looking into right now is, it's unfortunate, but Google and other advertising platforms see menopause as a hardship of some sort versus just like a time of life and a health issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not able to use words like vagina when you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about vaginal dryness, and which is, it's crazy, right? So how are you supposed to get around these to get the products that you need to women in need? Yeah, so just, and it's really fascinating to me in terms of how we are all dealing with things as entrepreneurs that we can all talk to each other about, and it helps everyone.
And is this a virtual meetup?
Yeah, just a
Oh,
Google Meet.
I will have to put that in the show notes
I will.
and
Yeah,
do my own
exactly.
investigating.
Yes.
As you spoke, I was thinking back to an earlier episode when I first launched the Menopause Disruptor podcast, which at the time was known as All Things Menopausal. But my mission was to really disrupt the conversation around menopause so that we can say what words like vagina and not
Uh-huh.
feel the shame and blame. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, earlier on, I brought on Eurista, which is a vaginal device to help with incontinence. and a great product produced here in Canada. I will probably link you up with the CEO of that company, Lauren, because she has a beautiful story to tell about how that all got started. And they are looking at ways of expanding their audience. So it might be a
That's wonderful.
conversation.
Thank you.
So
I
the
appreciate that.
listeners of that episode hear me, or Lauren herself hears me. We'll set that up. But on another topic though about the tenacity, because you said that you were against some challenges and upheavals when you entered into the spirits business and became the first worldwide female entrepreneur of Scotch spirits. And I would like to know how you yourself had to dig deep into your own sense of resiliency or core values to face those challenges and maintain that drive, your tenacity to persevere.
Yeah. I think at the time I wasn't aware of the term imposter syndrome, but I definitely had it, right?
Yeah.
Who am I to do this? I'm not from the spirits industry. I didn't grow up in Scotland. I've never even worked in the spirits industry. What business do I have doing this, right? And so I was also faced with quite a bit of rejection along the way. So it was 80 times in 3 years I got a no when it came time just to find the liquid, right? The core thing that I needed for this product. And it was 80, no, we can't help you. No, we're not interested. No, we don't do that contract blending. So I would like look up contract blending. So it's just kind of like feeling my way around in the dark. And I remember I went to get defeated at each of these, but there are almost checkpoints along the way to say, am I still interested in this? Does this still drive me? And then it was the 81st person that finally said yes. And it was actually a set of sisters who were taking over their dad's Scotch importing business and said, we would love to help you. We share a similar desire to change the face of Scotch, and we have connections and resources for you, and we'd love to be your partner in some way. And so it's quite magical. You just need that one yes to kind of get you started. And they're fantastic friends and became investors in the business along the way as well. I think it's just about really just believing in yourself and just I think there's that moment where I think it was Indiana Jones or one of them where they take a step off the cliff and there's like nothing to look at. But then when they throw some sand, you see that there's actually a step there and then a path for you to walk on. So just kind of taking this leap into the unknown. And there was this other whiskey maker that I always looked up to. And I wrote to him, I said, hey, do you have advice for someone like new to the industry, where would you begin? And he said, read a book called The Alchemist. And at first I thought, wait, is this like a Scotch book? Or do you mean The Alchemist that I read in high school from Paulo Coelho? He goes, Paulo Coelho. And I was like, okay. And so I read it. And it was very much about when you decide to choose or follow a dream that the universe conspires to make it so. And I think it's a big power in just speaking up for what you're working on and talking about it and not keeping it a beautiful secret, because then allies will show up. And the same thing happened to me again recently when I was starting the menopause business. I thought, well, who am I? I'm not a doctor. I'm not from the industry. And this time around, I was able to tell that voice to pipe down for a little while. Like, I got this. I could figure it out.
That is so great. You know, often I ask my guests what their favorite book is, and I'm glad you mentioned The Alchemist, but you did share in your intake form another one, Creative
Yes.
Visualization. So tell us a
It's,
little bit about
uh,
that book and
I
how it
could go on
shaped.
forever. It's a book by Shakti Gawain, and it's called Creative Visualization. And I have read it, I think maybe every decade of my life, as a from when I was 20 to now. And it's very much about the power of manifestation and just really visualizing your dreams and making them into a reality. And even the littlest things to the biggest things, right? And the biggest things might be finding a life partner. I remember I made a drawing with a little list of characteristics of who's my dream person. And then when I met who is my husband now, I told him, kind of silly, I'd made a list about you. And he goes, hang on a second. He goes, do you have it? I said, yeah. So I went and I found it. And then he came over and he pulled out a piece of paper that he had written, like his characteristics of the perfect partner as well. And it was just wild that we'd both kind of done this exercise and found each other. And then and then his take on it was, if you don't know what you're looking for, how will you know when you find it? And so I thought that was really beautiful. And then when I was struggling with fundraising for my business, my coach at the time said, what would be like the biggest, craziest outcome right now that you could imagine, like a miracle? And I said, if somebody just bought the whole thing. And so she said, well, what would that look like? And so she had me write myself a check for an amount and date it and who the buyer was and sign it and then just put it away. And then it was almost within a month of that day that I received the paperwork to close on the acquisition for my business. And that was 7 months from when I wrote that check to myself. So it was pretty wild what
That
you
is
can
incredible.
create and manifest. And I credit a lot of it to this book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. I was going to ask you if you had any advice for women, be it going through menopause or entrepreneurship or shifting from one job to another, leaving the corporate workplace. What would it be? But I think you nailed it right there.
Thank you. I think it's in so many ways, it's almost there's a distinction between being committed and being attached to an outcome. For me, it was like my husband and I, we were committed to having a big family, but we weren't attached to how it happened. And when we couldn't conceive naturally, we thought, well, let's do IVF. And so we did, and we have three amazing kids now.
Oh,
And to go from this feeling of scarcity to like full abundance of this big, beautiful family, and families come in all shapes and sizes. So I think I think just having the ability to know that what you want, but just not it has to be a certain way.
very true. Love that. Committed versus attachment.
Attached. Yeah.
And we know very well, just to go back to one of my favorite topics about yoga, yoga also is a practice of non-attachment in itself. And then we can really tap into who we are and then see ourselves from a point of view of where we can just simply observe without absorbing. And that speaks a lot to the menopause journey too. How can we get
Yeah.
curious and then lean in? And I love that women are leaning in together, creating products, creating businesses, creating community in which we can share in this journey. Because, like you said earlier, it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. And that in itself, I feel, is the spirit of the wise women rising.
Mm, it's
Oh,
beautiful.
I've loved this conversation.
Oh. Same. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my story and hopefully to help other women as well.
Yes, we'll get all those important links in the show notes. You shared so many, and I just can't wait to see how the feedback is from the listeners. Who knows? They may have just landed themselves a future career or future journey in entrepreneurship.
Oh, may it be so.
May it be so. Ah, so inspiring. Carin's story underscores resilience, community-driven support, and the transformative power of women coming together to redefine menopause and entrepreneurship. Exactly what this platform is all about. Here are my key takeaways. Personal experience inspires business. Karin's own journey with perimenopause was the engine behind her motivation to create Hot or Just Me. Life's transitions can be such a great opportunity if we can move past that place of lack to a place of trust, trusting our instincts that there is something bigger waiting for us beyond the present situation. And that is the wise woman rising. Number two, community and collaboration are vital. Carin emphasizes the importance of women supporting each other both personally and professionally, advocating for collaboration over competition. One of the biggest causes of a lack mindset is fear. Fear that someone else will be better, do better. But the reality is, we are better together. And Carin's success is built upon that principle. Whenever possible, and with what little money she had available at the time, she always gave back. Number three, breaking stigma through education. Carin is dedicated to normalizing menopause, reducing shame, and increasing awareness by providing accessible educational content owned and operated by women. And this brings me to my point number four, which is workplace inclusivity and menopause support. Carin advocates for more menopause-friendly workplaces, temperature regulation, for example, supportive environments, breakout rooms, open conversations. These all enhance women's well-being and retain valuable talent in the workplace. So if you have a business or belong to an organization that is forward-thinking and dedicated to fostering an organizational culture that raises all employees up, well, I can help you get there. Check out my link in the show notes to learn how to become a menopause at work champion. And my last point, resilience and manifestation. Carin's journey from the spirits industry to menopause advocacy involved overcoming rejection, imposter syndrome, and leveraging the power of belief through visualization, notably through the books that she mentioned, The Alchemist and Creative Visualization, both linked in the show notes. So if you're struggling to manifest your goals and need a little bit of inspiration, lean into these stories. These are fine examples of women who are disrupting the narrative, breaking down the stigma, and won't take no for an answer. And that, in my opinion, is our superpower. If today's insights resonated with you, I'd love for you to be a part of our growing community of menopause disruptors. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. And if you know someone who can benefit from these conversations, please share this episode. Sometimes a simple act of sharing can be the first step in someone's healing journey. And hey, if you're ready to take the next step in your menopause journey, I'm here to support you. You can find all my services, including my comprehensive menopause intelligence digital course, one-on-one coaching programs, and workplace education services at mlcoaching.com. It's in the show notes. Want to stay connected and get regular doses of menopause wisdom? Follow me on Instagram at Menopause Disruptor Podcast, where I share tips, insights, and real conversations about navigating this transformative phase of life. Let's continue to disrupt this menopause conversation together. Remember, midlife should be the best life, and it will be. Namaste.